everybody and welcome. I'm Miss Lisa. I'm the Youth Services Librarian at the West Osceola Library. And right now I'd like to get down to some simple science. All right, well, today we're going to try an experiment in which we find out the true colors of ink. Now, we know that sometimes we mix colors together to create new colors. And in this experiment today, we want to find out if that holds true for the colors in markers. But before we do, we need some supplies. The first thing we'll need is some markers, and they need to be watercolor or washable. We also need a coffee filter that you put in a coffee machine. We need a quarter or something around the size of a quarter, maybe a bottle cap, something that you can trace around. We need an empty cup, and we need a cup about halfway filled with water. It doesn't have to be filled too much, but you do have to be able to get your hand down into it. You need to get that water. If you don't have coffee filters, maybe we could try paper towels or napkins, see if that might work. All right, so the way we start this experiment is we take our coffee filter and we put it down on the table. We take our quarter and we put it in the middle of the coffee filter, and we are going to trace around that quarter. Today I'm going to use the color green. I want to see what colors make up green ink. So I'm going to trace around that quarter, and I might go around once, maybe twice, maybe a little bit thicker than just your first time tracing around. Now, I just want you to be careful and make sure that you put something down underneath that, because when you go to pick up your coffee filter that you'll trace, you'll notice that there's a circle on my table. Now, put something underneath it so you don't ruin a good table, but if you happen to get it on the table, it will wash off because it's washable marker. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my coffee filter that looks like that with my green ink in a circle that I traced around my quarter. I'm going to take my cup, my plastic cup. I'm going to take my coffee filter and I'm going to put it centering that circle in the middle of the cup. I don't need to use rubber bands or anything to try to keep it down because it'll stay that way. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to put it in the water. Remember before I said you needed to be able to touch that water? Now when I take my finger out of the water, you're going to notice it's dripping. We want to make sure that it's not too wet, but we want to make sure that all of the drips are off your finger. I'm going to take my finger at that point and I'm going to put it right in the middle of that circle. I'm going to touch it in the middle of that circle, and I'm going to wait. And as I wait, I'm going to notice that that water is going to spread, and it's going to reach the circle that I made with my green marker. Now, what you will start to notice is that most non-permanent markers use inks that are made up of color pigments and water. And when you put a drop of water on the filter, it starts to spread. When the water reaches the circle made with the marker, it continues to spread and it carries the pigments along with it, or the different colors. Now, different colored pigments are carried along at different rates. Some travel faster and some travel slower, some go further, some don't go as far. But since the water carries the different pigments at different rates, that ink separates to reveal the colors that were mixed to make it. So you'll notice here that you're starting to see, as it spreads, the colors that make up green ink. I have one that I have done already, and you'll see here, as it spreads, the water spreads, it hits that green circle, and you'll start to see it separate into yellow and blue, because we know that yellow and blue make green. Now, what you'll do is, as you're waiting for this to finish doing its magic, it's going to start to spread. You're going to wait until it dries, and once it dries, you'll be able to see a little bit better. But you will see that it does hold true for markers, and that's why we needed to use a washable marker, because that way the colors will separate. Now, this method of separating the parts of a pigment mixture is called chromatography. Now, that's a big word. And chromatography is the separation of the pigments of that color mixture. All right, so now that I did it with my green marker, I wonder what would happen if I did it with a different color marker. So now at home, try it. Try it with, say, a black marker. What would happen? To further the experiment, that's one thing you could do. Another thing you could do would be, sometimes I have markers that are two different brands. What would happen if I drew a green circle with one brand and a green circle with a different brand and tried the same experiment? Would they both come out exactly the same, or would something about one of them be different than the other? I don't know. You'll have to try it at home. This is an awesome experiment. Take some of your other markers, try it, see what colors come out. Try with paper towels, see if that changes your experiment. And see if we can really find the true colors of ink. Well, thanks for joining me, and I hope everyone had fun today doing some simple science. And I'll see you again soon. Bye!